So I saw this attack and knew I had to get away. Now the first order I'm going to give is to back away, but I've lost this one by the looks of it. Now I'm trying to stop the enemy from pursuing them, but this light tank has basically got free reign.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. It's Dvoid here. I've got a 1v1 multiplayer game, and for this one we're on Jungle Boogie version 3 map. It's the new Ladder 2023 map selection that this is from, and I have posted games using this map before, but it's will be the most recent version and the latest update. You know, latest revision of the map and things like that. Like I say, it's if you want to go on the ladder, this is one of the Ladder 2023 maps that you use. There are 16 that I saw. There may be 17 or 18, so there may be 1 or 2 maps that I didn't want to download, but I got 16 of these ladder maps for this year. But my opponent chose this map, and I'm using Russia. I'm in red in the bottom right. My opponent's using France, and they're in the top left in purple, light purple. And my opponent has gone for this oil derrick with their infantry, and their engineer's heading for it as well. My engineer, I've sent him with a couple of rifles straight to this oil derrick here, because I'm fairly sure it's safe. So that allows me, because the enemy can't reach there for ages with rifles, so that allows me to train an engineer early and get capturing early without having to invest considerable resources. But I bumped into the enemy here and I had to fall back because they've got a stack of units ready and I didn't want to lead my infantries one at a time into them. So I've fallen back here, but I don't want to give ground and let them take map control. So I've sent a couple of rifles this way just to see if the enemy has gone around with all their units, because they may, knowing where my units are, they may go for my base. So I've got 2 rifles, but they've found the enemy's 2 rifles, and that's why you have 2. On defensive roll, because even if they send 2, 2 will defeat 2 if they've got the defender's advantage. And if they only send 1, 2 will win regardless of what situation you're in. But my opponent sent their engineer back, and they're going for this oil derrick at the top. That was the first one I went for, so I've captured this one, and my opponent's got that, so... and they're actually guarding this one as well. So my engineer is stalled at the moment, and my opponent's going for... it looks like they've changed their mind. They're actually heading for this oil derrick. And they've changed their mind and decided that because they did have orders to take this one. And they're still going to check it out with a rifleman, but they've changed their mind on which one to capture. Now, the thing is, this is more likely to be one I'm going for. So it makes sense for the enemy to do that. Capture it earlier, and even if I do take it back, they've already had earnings from it. But then they can go back to this knowing it's safe. So I'm still gathering units, and I don't know what presents my opponent's got here. For all I know, he's sent a load of rifles and that. But I've got my APC and my rocket soldiers, so I'm confident this isn't decent enough starting army to attack, and they're escorting the engineer. But I'm going in a different direction. I'm not going to go in straight away in this direction because my opponent is ready to use the view range of the oil derrick. Look, so if I approach here, I can't see the enemy. Look, I don't know they're there. But as soon as I reach this point, the enemy can open fire. So that's why I'm going round the back. And standard build order for me, and it looks like my opponent as well. So I'm moving forward, looking to see what's going on. And my 2 scout rifles have told me the enemy are here. But I've sent my APC straight in there because there's no rocket soldiers firing back, so it can just absorb all the bullets. But my opponent knows where my army is now. They can see this look, so they know I've got a vehicle, and now they know even more, and my engineer's there. So my opponent knows they're free to attack my base, and they're here, look. Now, they did snipe my engineer. They've traded their ranger for it, but they've actually got a light tank. So I saw this attack, and knew I had to get away. Now, the first order I'm going to give is to back away, but I've lost this one by the looks of it. Now, I'm trying to stop the enemy from pursuing them, but this light tank has basically got free reign. And there are 2 ore trucks that that light tank can easily destroy. So now I'm going to destroy the oil derrick. But I know the light tank's attacking. It's destroyed an ore truck. And it's going for the weak ones. It's destroyed 2 ore trucks. That made that attack worth it alone. And I'm now trying to close in on that light tank. Let's just check early army values now. I'm ahead because of the units I've killed. But if we look at... I've got 3 ore trucks. My opponent's got 5. And production, I'm building heavy tanks. So at the moment, I'm not replacing any ore trucks, except I'm building my 4th refinery. So at least I've got my building production is on track already to replace this damage. But it's obviously going to affect my income. Yeah, I'm slightly lower, over a couple of grand, more than 2.5 grand below my opponent for income. And my opponent's income will increase, but mine will increase more slowly because I've got to recover first. So it's not a good position for me. My opponent's just done quite well. So I've got 1 oil derrick. My opponent's got 2 of them because I've destroyed 1. But as I was moving this way, I bumped into my opponent's army. And I didn't want to overcommit. Army values put me at 9,000, my opponent at 7.5. But my opponent's got an expansion up here, and I've just packed up my MCV, and I've got an expansion here. Look, 1 ore truck on it. There's no need for an eco transfer yet, because I've only got 3 ore trucks at my home base. But this force, which I thought would mean that the enemy isn't here, has resulted in this MCV running straight into the enemy, and I turned around to escape when the best thing would have been to carry on, but it wouldn't have made any difference. So that has now caused this reaction from me. I'm attacking and needing to do damage, not happy about what's just happened. And I also can't let them train a mechanic because they can steal that. That destroyed MCV. My opponent can put a mechanic inside it and use it, so they'll have Soviet tech if they do that. And you see, all this time it's still there, so they could have used either of these barracks to produce a mechanic, but obviously they wouldn't get away with it because I'm there. And there's no way for me to get a mechanic in time, because I'd have to capture a barracks and then train a mechanic. But one thing I did decide was not to destroy that refinery. And I'm training an engineer to capture it. There we go, there's an engineer, and I'm sending infantry up here to guard the engineer, and hopefully I'm hoping to catch it without them selling it, although it should be clear what I'm doing now to the enemy, and they should probably sell it, but we'll see. I've got this expansion covered with barracks, and let's look at army values and economy now. I'm at 14,000, my opponent's at 6,000 army value, so I've done damage to their army, whereas they've done damage to my economy. But look, as I'm capturing here, my opponent has that was a split second before finishing. Dear me, and I did try and cover him, it was just, these guys should have been there. I've called them off, that's stupid of me. And here we go, I'm engaging. And it's vital not to lose your tanks too early in these engagements. See, I've kept 1 back, look. Now, they are targeting the enemy tanks, but you've got to keep 1 back at least. And I've got another one on the way, but it's going to take time. But I can't let that tank just die up front. It's got to stay close to the troops. See, he's firing, see him being shot at, and I'm trying to move it away. I can't have that. Look, trying to keep it alive. But also, I have to use it to screen the pillbox now. So I have no choice, I've lost it. So this is a bad situation for these infantry, but luckily I've got tanks arriving, and that's not getting away. This is blocked by a wreck, but they could use mechanics again on these wrecks. It's just I've got a strong presence there, so there's nothing they can do, and they obviously can't afford 500 credits on a unit that's probably not going to help. And look, they've captured my service depot with an engineer, so I had to sell my second refinery to kill the engineer before he went for something else. So it was a nice little counter capture for my opponent, and he sold the he sold the service depot and killed the engineer, so he got even more value out of it. Now I've turned these around to kill these units, but my attack, I'm leaving this refinery on purpose, and I can see there's infantry being trained, and my opponent has backed away. They've got a lot of ore trucks, all, like nearly all full of ore, and they are now building a base. And this ore truck has been mining long distance. It should be here mining from this. And I've got my second war factory, and I'm placing defences to protect it. Really, I need a barracks there, because this is actually my main source of ore, my most important, because it's a fresh source with a refinery there, and I've got my second war factory there as well. So it makes this a very important area. I need a barracks to protect it and build a few troops. Just like this, look, you know, barracks, they help protect your important structures and expansions. It's important to have a barracks with every single sort of base you have. You need a barracks at each one. Even if you've got more than 7, it doesn't matter. It just means you can train infantry all over the map wherever you have them. So once you do reach 7, there are still plenty of places to put barracks, even if you have more than 7. Now I've got 4 and 5, 6, 7. That's the minimum. You have to build 7 barracks, because 7, once you've built 7 barracks, your infantry train at full speed. And then any extra just enables you to change the location of your infantry production. So now, ideally I should move my construction yard, train a barracks as it's moving and place one, build a barracks and place one, and then build a barracks up here as well to protect this. You know, and that would be my 8th barracks, 9th barracks. You see how I haven't expanded very far? You know, I'm not used to this map. But my opponent is recovering, and the amount of ore he's going to get from those ore trucks is going to be a lot. Now, his income is minuscule, but it's soon going to increase. I've still only got 5 ore trucks, so I never truly recovered. Never. My opponent had 5 ore trucks when he destroyed, mine down to 3. So I've only recovered to the point where my opponent was when he did that damage. And you see, because he got my service depot, I'm building APCs, but I've replaced the service depot, and I should have a barracks by now. Excuse me. I mean, it's obvious my opponent's beaten. I'm looking for a what do you call it? I'm looking for an MCV hidden at the edge or something. I didn't think he had this, but it wouldn't matter anyway. I've got my V2s now. There's one already over here. You see, I've got base defences, and the V2's an excellent defensive unit. Now there's infantry moving all over the place. But it's about a 30 grand army. 27,000 army value to me. 29. My opponent's at 8,000. So they've got a defensive force, but it's not enough. It won't help. Not at this point. And he's just, commented, basically. But it was a good game. It was alright, and I think they like this map, like I say, because they chose this, they requested it. Where are we? Yeah, there you go, look, I said hi when they joined, and they asked for that map. And when I changed it, they said thanks and all that. I said you're welcome, because any change of map's fun. It's always different. It's always good to challenge yourself a little bit and get outside your regular map pool. And this group of infantry have found the enemy presence. And they recovered up to 10,000 army value, which is nice to see. But they're only infantry here for me, and that's reckless, because these guys can slaughter 2-3 times the amount if they're the amount in infantry if I attack them when they've got defenders advantage, defences and everything. But now I've got these V2s, it's over. Because I've told my units to stop. They're not attacking my infantry. They're not on attack move. They've stopped. Now my tanks have arrived, it's done. And my V2s are just firing, I'm force firing where I want them to. See, V2s are excellent. You should have them on hold fire stance and fire only at what and when you tell them to. See, tank moving forward, drawing fire from the pillboxes, but my opponent building turrets has got some nice extra damage in there. But look, I've got an aircraft, I'm going to lose it. And now the ore trucks are coming to run over my troops, so I'm backing away and using the heavy tanks to destroy them. I could have carried on backing away, but I thought, no, let's have a brawl, see how many I can destroy before they start to crush. And there's 5 left, and now they're hitting my troops, doing some crushes. Not bad. Nah, you see, their own wrecks were stopping them. That's what stopped them doing damage, and they've called it there at that point. But yeah, that's interesting, you see. The wrecks of your vehicles actually block your other vehicles from doing crushes, so you need to bear this in mind when you decide what direction you're approaching the enemy infantry from. When you're going to crush them with vehicles, you have to approach from directions where they're not going to block each other. But APCs, the good thing about them is you don't need to worry about that, because they don't leave a wreck. So they're tracked vehicles that are very fast and armoured against rifles. They'll soak up bullets for ages, but they're very fast and crush enemy infantry. But when they're destroyed, they won't leave a wreck, so it won't block the one behind it. So you can just send a group of 5, say, and it'll crush a load of enemy infantry. They won't cause you any problems. There won't be any downside, you know, and if you iron curtain them first, all the better. You know, that's one good tactic. But I'm gonna go through the graphs and charts and stuff, and looks like we're fairly even until the combat kicked off, about 7 minutes. But I think those losses were probably from their attack when they lost this small starting force over here. It's more than likely, and my army just took off to a lot. But look at their earnings. They were doing better than me, only after the 10th minute. After the 10th minute they suffered. But look at that recovery, because they had all those ore trucks on one patch. But it'll soon be mined out and gone. You can't really fight a war on an economy like that. It will get you up and running again quickly, but you still need to expand, you know, to continue it. But there's the earnings graphs. There's my army. I've got a Yak attack plane, 3 V2s, some heavy tanks, flame trooper, engineer, and a basic amount of infantry. 25,000 army value. I didn't lose any structures, which I'm very surprised about, but they did capture one, so that should count. But my opponent lost 31 structures, but that's only because they put up such a good fight. Otherwise they wouldn't have suffered those losses. But I killed 272 units, my opponent killed 162. I destroyed 79,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent got 37,000 credits worth of mine. My support powers are in effect spy plane and paratroops, because I built an airfield. And production, let's see what I'm building. Basic stuff, more aircraft, but basics except for that. And I did hang on to this oil derrick, and I managed to capture that one in the end. Yeah, my engineers left there neglected. That's not good, because you lose them when you do that. But yeah, I've got 5 ore trucks. That's not great. I'd never fully recovered, you know. I was lucky that I did so well in combat. But I earned 94,000. My opponent earned 76,000. And I got a few grand. My opponent's got a little bit of cash. Here's the basics. I was at 27 actions per minute. My opponent was at 56. There's our scores, 816 to 394, and there's all your basics, graphs, charts and stats. Hope you enjoyed that game. And I'm going to add a second game to this one, because a viewer online sent me a replay that they thought I'd find entertaining. So I'm going to add that to this post, just so there's a little bit extra to it. But I didn't play in this game, obviously someone sent it to me. But here we go.
Battle control initialized.
This is a 1v1 multiplayer game, and we're on green belt map, and both players are using Russia. One player's using Russia in red in the bottom right, and it's not me though. And one player's using Russia in this lime green sort of colour. Is it? Kind of. Yellowy sort of colour. In the top left. So let's just have a look, see what we've got. Yeah, standard production so far. We've got infantry being produced, but on this green belt map, it's a classic old map. This has been around since I've been playing it, and there are these 4 oil derricks to capture, and it's right near the centre, and you never really know which one your opponent's going to go for. But the player in red has gone for this one, which is closer to the enemy, but you can't shoot through fences. I don't think it's like a concrete wall. I don't think you can shoot through them with certain weapons. And the red player, their engineer's going for that capture. Now, they've got a rifleman here and a couple up here just to track where the enemy is changing direction to. These look like grenadiers. Yes, they are. And there are 5. And they've got a screening force of rifles leading the way. But the enemy, the players in red, knows, but they're behind. They've gone the wrong direction, and there are 0 rifles protecting their base. You need at least 3, and quite a lot of the time I use 4. Now, they are training rifles. Good, very good that they're training them. But they can't afford to lose the barracks. Either power plant or barracks is bad. Get them away from the riflemen. Lucky they didn't all explode. Now, they've got no barracks, they can't build base defences or infantry. So this guy has to build a barracks before he's in low power. And he's ordered, he's changed from a refinery to a power plant, so he can't build a barracks. See how difficult situation you're in once your opponent has destroyed your first barracks. You're very bad off. But he's losing his grenadiers to crushes. And now his infantry's arrived and sent them packing. He's lucky. The player in red is lucky that they didn't lose that construction yard. Very lucky. But it's left this player with 0. Let's see who came out on top combat-wise. Yeah, the attacker. Interesting. But it looks like they didn't go for any engineer. The player in yellow, they didn't get. They probably chose train the grenadiers and a couple of extra rifles, whatever, and thought, I'll not train the engineer because it'll drain his resources. But there's no repairs happening on that, and it will be expensive. Perhaps he's going to try and go for captures and use the engineer to repair it. And he's got no one escorting the engineer. It's moving to his death because there's an APC with an engineer. And it looked like he shot through the barrier, so maybe the chain link fence. It is a chain link, so bullets should pass through. Fair enough. But the player in yellow's recovered a small force. This is a decent enough defensive force, and the APC can drive around and make a nuisance of itself and gather intel. But it's 3 oil derricks to 1 at the moment, to the player in red. Now that's something that may help them recover, but they can't build infantry still. They've only got this war factory. And there's the capture. Now he'll lose all his rifles if he sends them to engage that APC. He'll lose them all. He's just sending a couple on scouting mission, and now rifles are arriving. Having that APC is excellent, but the player in red's actually building ore trucks. Let's see if they still are. Yes, they're still building another ore truck. You can use one for screening, 1 or 2, if you want, but, you know, they need a proper mixed force. And look at that. The player in yellow has got 3 APCs so far. Very nice. That's that actually makes a strong starting force. 3 APCs are so good at crushing that 3 APCs could probably kill those troops alone. So if you engage with the infantry firing, oh dear, Tesla coil, the perfect answer. See, there's one wrecked before they've done anything. The second one's wrecked, and the third one did nothing. And there's that. No, it's the second one's just died. And now the third one's just died, but a fourth has arrived. You see, even with an excellent defence and an excellent start, Tesla coil and rocket troops killing one before they've even done out, they're still won. Because of the APC that was built after it and arrived, and now there's another one. You see there, that's an MCV, I believe. But there's a second one here. Very nice. But there's APCs arriving all the time, so one can block the war factory so it can't build. Others can block these if necessary, or just stop the barracks from producing. So it's a horrible situation the player in red is in. There's nothing, you know, they could have done. They did what they did the best they could, built a Tesla coil and had a good start to that engagement. And yeah, look what's arriving. A constant stream of APCs and troops. That's all you need at this point. APCs are better than tanks at this point because there's no anti-tank vehicles needed. The APCs can distract base defences better, crush infantry, and block places like refineries and war factories. So APCs in this situation are better. A better early game unit. But if your opponent was to build main battle tanks as normal, that's when main battle tanks become essential for you. If your opponent has them. If your opponent doesn't have main battle tanks, APCs are the better option. And I also think that APCs are a good unit to actually join base attacks. Even when you're building as normal infantry and main battle tanks, I think once you're in a base attack and your opponent doesn't cave straight away or you don't retreat, if you want to press this base attack, having an APC built every other, you know, every time you build a tank, build an APC while you want a base attack force, because they can move between buildings and crush infantry, and an APC set to shift command can just move back and forth next to a flame tower and it won't hit it with its you know, with its attacks. So APCs are better than tanks for base attack, but you know, if your opponent has main battle tanks, you need them yourself because they'll outclass APCs in the field and in defense or attack. They won't do the job on their own once your opponent has got tanks. You see, they're training rocket soldiers, still hanging on, and is not happy, obviously, about being beaten, but it was a decent, fun game, and the player in yellow did extremely well, crushed his opponent nicely, kept up that aggression, and managed to actually take care and manage their units very well. They, you know, kept the APCs alive well, had their infantry, a nice stream of units. So they did very well. It was excellent. And the player they were up against is obviously skilled. They are a skilled player anyway, I know them. I know that player. And I know they are a good player, so it's not easy to do this. It's excellent early game tactic. And this is mopping up the dregs. And you see your APCs can just move and avoid and draw fire, and the flamethrowers are a very nice touch. You see, it's not a, you know, and now screening from these ore trucks, this player in red has fought all the way. They don't want to give it up, you can tell that, but good on them, you know, they've done very well. And look at these flamethrowers while they're being screened by that, so effective. You know, all the damage and the situation they're in, and they still got those kills. That's, you know, it shows you how good both players are. But I'll just go through the graphs and charts, and look, they just, you know, had minimal assets all the way, the player in red. A very brutal, harsh game, but they didn't want to give that up. There's the earnings. They didn't have a chance to get proper earnings. And there's the player in yellow. They've got a few APCs and some troops. That's all they needed. It did the job perfectly. Didn't allow his opponent to develop. 13,000 army value. And the player in red lost 21 structures, and he didn't take out any of his opponent's structures, sadly. But he took out 155 units, the loser. Very good, because it's defensive fighting, and they did very well. And the player in yellow killed 82. So the player in red got 33,000 credits. The player in yellow that won got 38,000, destroyed 38,000 credits worth of his opponent's assets, sorry. The player in red destroyed 33,000 credits of his opponent's assets. They didn't earn those credits, sorry, that was a mistake, slip of the tongue. But yeah, there's your combat chart. No support powers in effect, way too early, and he's building a service depot now. He's already got 2 war factories, the player in yellow, before they got a service depot built. So they were building APCs nice and quickly, very nice, very, very nice. So economy, they hung on to 2 oil derricks, the close one. That was the first one that they fought over. And they've got 6 ore trucks. And the player in red earned 37,000 credits. The player in yellow earned 61,000 credits. Nice earnings considering how short that game was. And they've got a bit of cash. Basics. The player in red was at 45 actions per minute. The player in yellow was at 53 actions per minute. There's your scores, 318 to 399. Very close. Very close game. Even without destroying any structures, the player in red got that score. That's impressive, you know, it's good. Very good. They just, you know, what could they have done, really? Just got caught out by an effective tactic, an effective and timing working against them. But there's that second game for you. There's all your basics, graphs and charts. I hope you enjoyed that game. And if you enjoyed those 2 games, give us a sub and a like if you enjoyed them. I hope so. I enjoyed playing that game earlier. And thank you to the player who sent this replay in. A nice short replay, but entertaining. It was proved to be entertaining. So thank you for sending it in. And to everyone, take good care of yourselves. And until next time, goodbye.
Battle control terminated.